All right, so we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wealthy Warrior Leaders podcast. So I'm Dr. Vidya, and I'm here today with the amazing Lucy Dartford. Hello, Lucy. So she is founder and
Hello, thanks for
CEO
having
of We
me.
Are Lucy. And if you're happy to just share a little bit about yourself, and what we're basically going to be discussing today is motherhood, having a conversation around mindset, our movements that we're creating with our legacies as well, and just talking all about all the juiciness to do with that. So if you just take it away, Lucy, we're just introducing yourselves to our
Of
audience.
course, thank you. Thanks for having me. So yes, I'm Lucy. I own a PR agency. We specialise in all things health, well-being, fitness, entrepreneurs, and beyond. I'm a single mother. And currently living in West London, and balancing everything in the way that we do. Yeah.
Perfect, lovely. And you've also recently started a fitness journey as well. Not recently, I think I've seen from Facebook. It's been quite some time, but as in I've just been seeing the results, shall we say, of all
Well,
of your
yeah.
effort. So tell us about that.
Apologies. I've probably been boring people senseless. Like, have another photo of me doing something fitness related.
It's incredible. I love it. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about the fitness side of it, and maybe I think sort of the mindset healing, how that can help us as well as in our businesses as well.
Yeah, it's a good one. So I really am an advocate for all things fitness, because I think for me, fitness, it didn't start as a journey to be a certain size or look a certain way. For me, it really was just about moving my body and sort of getting out of, I guess, a bit of a rut at the time. And so, if we scroll back several years when I was a new mum, and as we know, those slightly well, not even slightly, very overwhelming days of, having a newborn, my only newborn. And I thought, I have no idea what I'm doing. I was a solo mum, and I thought, I really am in need of some help here. And I thought, I don't know how to just manage or cope. And I remember taking Zuri, my daughter, to nursery at the time, and I was in the thick of it. The head was woo, and I
Yes.
just thought, how am I how am I managing my business, managing my head, managing everything? And it was at that moment that a fellow mum from the nursery came over, and I don't know, I still ask her to this day, can you try and reenact what I looked like for you to come over? Was it like a SOS call, like visually? And she came over, and she was like, hello. And I was like, yes. And she said, just wanted to see how you were, and wondered if you would like to come and try my gym. There's a gym just around the corner here from the nursery. And I sort of looked a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, and she said, just come along, give it a go. And so I kind of sheepishly thought about it. Didn't have the courage. I felt really, after giving birth, I felt very much kind of stripped bare. I sort of lost my sense of identity. Everything had changed. There I was managing so much as a completely solo parent, and I was just a bit like, oh, I didn't have the confidence. And I remember walking up to that door and several times turning around, because I was like, Anyway, on one of the occasions, I actually went in, and they sort of drew me in, and they completely, they just welcomed me with open arms. And I went in, and no lie, I followed the class quite sort of sheepishly. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do a push-up. I couldn't do, I did a very small amounts of cardio. I was just really at my lowest ebb on so many levels. And they said, just keep coming back. And I tried, and I did, and I had my wobbles, and then I kept coming back. And so roll on several years, and that kept coming back has now led me to competing like a pro level. And that's great and very exciting. And I do sort of shout a lot about the transformation, not only physically, because the physical transformation came, but actually the main part of it that I really do kind of scream from the hilltops is the mental health part of it, and how transformative that is. And so for me now, fitness, movement, all that good stuff is a kind of, not, it's a non-negotiable. So it's a part of who I am, and it forms like the baseline for how I operate in the world, what I give to my family, my daughter, my parents, what I give to my friends, how I operate in business, the energy I put into things. And so it really, everything has just ramped up with this fitness routine in place. And I get it, you know, intense fitness that I do like this is not for everyone, but you know, when you find your thing, I think in life that gives you great joy and great sort of stability, I think it's hugely transformative. And so that is my journey, and that is why I am sitting here talking to you in my journey kit, and I may as well throw away all my other clothes, because that's really what I do, and it gives me such a buzz and a joy. So that's my journey.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, one of the key things I talk about, and thank you for sharing that, was so the movement I'm a founder of, or that I'm passionate about, is Wealthy Warrior Leaders. And for me, the biggest thing is it's there are so many different forms of wealth, and so health is wealth. But also it's not just exactly as you said, and obviously we want our physical health, but it is the mental health. It's almost like that has to come first in order to then have the physical. And then like leading, would you say, I always say like the leadership starts from within, and then our family, and then our business. And what do you feel about that leadership from within?
I think that's a really good point, because I think until you have created a kind of stable inside situation, whatever you want to call it, I don't think anything else, nothing's going to work, or ultimately it may fall apart. So, you know, for me, there have been times in my life, we're talking years back to when I was, you know, sharing about having a newborn, etc. You know, there were times that I had large amounts of money, but then that didn't necessarily come with the stability inside, or the healed sense of self that I possess today. And so inevitably that, you know, faltered along the way. I lost that at one point, but in order for me to regain that and regain all the other facets that you mentioned, I had to ensure that I formed a stable core, a stable me. And that took years of work on myself and self-reflection and looking at who I was. And you know, it's, people used to say to me, which used to make me want to scream, was, you know, it's not an overnight job. And I'm like, is there not something that I can take that will just make me better? And as in, you know, make me, you know, comfortable. You know? And actually there's not. Sorry. There's no application or jab. It really is putting in the work, putting in the effort. And so I think that is kind of, I guess, sort of echoes the fitness side of things. You know, you chip away at it, and over time you obviously see results, I guess, on a physical level, but that's the same with the mental part as well. But you put the effort in, create that solid core, that solid base, and the leadership then comes naturally. You know, I think leadership is, I think I look at people that I aspire to, and if you want what they've got, you follow what they've done. I think that makes sense. So, and I'm always asking questions of people that inspire me. I say, how have you got there? You look rather happy, or you seem rather happy. And you know, their journey, I learn so much from, you know, fellow leaders, etc. And it's all pretty similar stuff. Everyone's kind of following a similar sort of path and have similar kind of ideas, etc. So that's my thoughts on leadership.
Absolutely, thank you. And it's so integral, because I mean, I've also done that too, right? Kind of like, oh, is there like a you know, like a quick meditation I could do for like 30 days, you know, like the challenges, which I think help, but really it's like the kickstart of it. And actually, so for me, in my,
Oh, hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, you're back.
I'm
Hello.
sorry. I'm not the joys of technology. Sorry about that, everybody. And also, it's going to come on to what I wanted to talk about, which is traits of a leader, including persistence with the Wi-Fi. But yeah, exactly. In terms of it's not an easy road. And I mean, it is like, oh, the Wi-Fi is not working. What we're going to do in this situation, and
Absolutely.
is it going to be a victim mindset of like, oh well, you know, I tried, it's already so hard, and blah, 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 or like, come on, like, do we want this or not? So I think it is literally in those moments and like of, okay, I have a choice now.
Yes.
Like this can either be my story, and there's nothing wrong with that story. This is how far we've come to. Like, so meeting it with a place of wholeness of like where we're at.
Yes.
Actually, like, yeah, I know there's more, and there's nothing to show for that right now in like the material world we live in, but I can feel it. Like, I feel it here, right? And then leaning into, okay, creating the life that we want, which is what you were mentioning. You mentioned happy, finding those that have what it is that you're seeking on the outside, right? Like, okay, this looks good. I'm passionate about that too. Oh, I love how they're expressing that, right? And maybe I can do it in that way, right? Just how I started like my coaching business, or became a doctor, or for UPR, or communications agent. Like you find like a vehicle, and it's like, okay, this feels good. I like it in here. It's like a test drive. But ultimately, there takes the knowledge work of like everything in business and marketing and your art, right? Your mastery, like me going to medical school, etc. And then there takes which I call the real work, which is the inner work.
Yes,
right? So,
absolutely.
You know, would you agree with that in terms of the inner work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting, you know, you talk about the Wi-Fi situation, etc. And ultimately, you know, I think, and whatever you do in life, you to do that inner work is so key, because, you know, I think back to how I initially sort of faced life and took on certain situations, and there was a time when everything seemed just too much, too problematic, etc. And I'd really sort of get stuck in sort of cycles of, oh my god, you know, it's like it was a bit self-defeating, the kind of woe is me. You know, life is it's challenging, it's beautiful, but it's got some immense curveballs. You don't know what's going to happen next. So the best thing that I ever did was actually take the time, and even to this day, take the time and continue to self-reflect, to work on myself, to engage in certain ways and means and activities, whatever it may be, where I'm, you know, growing myself as a person. Because everything else, all the qualifications, all the PR, all the mothering, all the directing, none of that is going to work unless I'm whole and present, none of that will actually work. So I need to really make sure a large focus on what I do throughout my life to face the curveballs, to face the, you know, the interruptions, whether it be Wi-Fi or whether it be something massive. You know, I've had something recent that has completely, well, it floored me, but it was a situation that perhaps 10 years ago I would have dealt with incredibly differently. It would have been a real downfall for me. I would have turned to unhealthy behaviors. I would have processed the information completely in a harmful way. Whereas this time I am doing it's completely different. And all that sort of inner work that you talk about is it has put me in great, a great position, in good stead. So, I am able now to be the good mother. I am able to be the good friend. I am able to be the good, colleague, boss, whatever you want to call it. So the inner work is so key, and I've got so much time for it. And yes, the fitness is part of that, but there are other things that I am a huge believer in, whether it be therapy, meditation, things that nourish your soul, that allow you to, look at yourself a little more. Because I needed to do some serious looking at myself. And, I even, a couple of years back, I said, okay, lovely to have nice treats that we spoke about before. I've worked really hard. I'm going to get that handbag or whatever it may be. But I actually said, what I'm going to do is, a few years ago, I said, I'm going to take this chunk of money and I'm going to put myself into intense therapy for a year. And I'm going to turn up every single week and put myself through the mill. I wanted somebody to really dig deep, because I wanted to enter my 40s in the best place possible. So here I am, and here I am. But it doesn't stop. I don't think it ever stops. I don't think it's ever like, okay, I've paid for my therapy, I've done some sound baths, and I am good. No, it's a constant process, and a constant you just got to keep topping up. It's like with something. And so that's now how I try to lead my life. And one of my things I also say is, we are fallible. We're not robots yet. But we have feelings, we make mistakes, and so I'm gentle on myself with that. And I know when things are going a bit awry, and I think, okay, let's steer the ship back here, let's focus a bit more on here, get that core stability back to here. That's the inner work for me, I guess.
Absolutely. I love that. You said it beautifully. And I love doing all forms of meditation, but I particularly love chakra healing and aura healing.
Yes.
So I feel like, for me, so it's a root chakra, right, which is the foundation of self. Okay. So when I heard that, I thought, wow, that really fits. Yes. Because I think, especially as you're entering motherhood, right, you start to question things in a healthy way. You start to question things. So you're forming your own values around your own stories and beliefs and habits and everything. And if you have a partner, then they come with theirs. So it's a great party. But on a serious note, it really is sort of like, wow, like it's. And then you've got this, obviously you've got a newborn to keep alive, and and it really is just like, wow, it's incredible that, and I think the whole working mother, which I love doing it, but I recognize that there are many who don't get much time off, and maybe doing work that they enjoy, and I just don't know how what that must feel like. I really recognize that when I really thought about, this is my foundation of stuff, and that foundation is changing. So no wonder it feels so out of this world. And many call it, I think initially I felt it was a bit isolating. So with my first little one, they, everything was fine with the pregnancy, but for whatever reason, there was sepsis at birth. And thankfully we were both fine at the end. But there was a moment when he had just been born, and he whisked off to NICU, and obviously my husband, obviously go with him. I'm just I wasn't going anywhere. And I was in HDU, so I was HDU, but I was fine. I was conscious and everything. It was more just as antibiotics and they watched me. And I remember I was alone in this cubicle. And I remember, and obviously parents, everything were there, but they weren't allowed in yet because that's stabilizing patient. I remember feeling really sort of like, initially I could feel the why me, like
Yes.
what's happening. And you could feel like it's the panic and it's, yeah, of course it is scary. And I remember just thinking, okay, Vidya, you've got a choice now. Okay, you talk about all this mindset.
Yeah.
And so this is, it's not that the universe is testing you. I don't think it's that cruel, but more just kind of like, yeah, like you have a choice now. Like, you live, this is what leap of faith is, right? Whether you want to do in a religious form or not. I am very spiritual. So I was like, you've got to take the leap of faith. You can choose the fear road, which I mean doesn't go anywhere. It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Or acknowledge how you feel. I am super anxious right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to choose this, and I have no idea, but it's got to be better than this, and I'm just going to choose to believe that this is the best case scenario right now. Like, you know, it's could have been worse. Yeah. And I remember, like, yes, I was doing my mantras and things, which is my way, and you know, I guess you all grow up with something, and that was kind of my default, right? It also felt good because I guess that's part of mantras or affirmations is another way. It gives you kind of like it gives you something to do when your mind is anxious. It's like, I can repeat this over and over again. So that's one. But I do think it reaches like a certain frequency eventually. Of just peace. Like you might not be happy with what's going on right now, but I can be calm. I can be at peace. And then I can actually think. Because it's so much noise. And thankfully everything at Betcha was fine. I remember asking the midwife, like, what can I like do? Like, is there something I can do? And she was like, well, you could maybe take your like colostrum to the ward or like try to breastfeed. And I was like, that was all I heard. And literally I was like, what? And they were like, you're like, like you can't come in here, and like we just a complete mess, like just a horror movie. And I was like, I just latched onto that, and literally was like, I would like knock on the door. Hello, I have my colostrum. Like my husband's coming to live with. But I mean, but honestly, jokes aside, I was so like, I'm just going to treat this as if this is gold. That for me, this is like gold. And if it doesn't come out, that's fine. I'm just going to nuzzle and skin to skin, and I'm just going to act as if, but not pretending that this is so deeply nourishing and healing for me and for me and for the baby. And that this is working. And you know what? And obviously I'm a doctor, right? So I had to ignore all the doctors who are like, oh, the CRP is 300 and we have nobody. And my husband was like, understandably, I understand you have to say all of the protocol and everything, but in my mind, I knew like they have to say this. It's like paracetamol, right? Like all the leaflet, like. But I was like, I'm just gonna tune out. I'm not gonna resist it. And I'm gonna focus on this. And I remember they said, we have no idea how, but his CRP, the inflammatory marks, that come right down.
Amazing,
And he had a lumbar puncture and all of this. And I remember saying to my husband, like, no, like, we are the energy. And he was like, this woman's gone. She's gone. But I was like, we are the energy. We are the energy. And he's looking to us for leadership. And we have to just basically, we just have to like, you know, just be, you know, and feel how we feel, but we just have to just do this. And so, and so we did that. And I think it also pulls something within you that you were also a bit like, I really have no idea, but like, it's just what it is. Because like, what else am I supposed to do? I don't actually know. And they actually said, and even part of me was like, I actually don't know if he even needs some of that other stuff, but I was a bit scared to test it out. I was like, okay, let me just, you know, but everyone saw him go pink when we were just doing skin to skin. And it was kind of like, maybe in another lifetime I would have just done that. But I was like, fine, take to NICU, do what you need to do. But I remember just being like, come on, baby, you can just breastfeed. We don't need this. And then he did, and we did it. And it was like 3 a.m. and I had this like NICU like milk tube, and I was like, oh my god, how are we gonna do this? And eventually, like, you know, we got it. And that for me was real, like, it was really hard. Like, I'm not going to deny the work. It's really, really hard. And it's almost easier, ironically, to do the victim mindset, even though you don't want it. Even though you don't want it.
Of course.
Like, oh, why? Because everyone comes like, yeah, you're right. It's so hard. And we're so sorry. And it's like, it kind of anchors you there. To this. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's all fine. And you sound a bit kooky, but I'm like, it's fine. I'm happy being delusional. And actually, it did work in the end. So have you ever felt like that or had moments like that where you'd be like, I'm just going to go all out with this, and then eventually you saw the results, but you had
Of
to
course.
stay there for a bit?
Totally. And it happened, it's happened, well, all through these past few years, particularly as a mother. It's so interesting how you said about, you maintained some form of positive mindset, that sort of leader in you came out to change the scenario, and inevitably it completely changed it. And, look what happened. And so I am a big believer in that. There's certain situations that I've been in, and I can see how Zuri, my little girl, will feed off my energy. And she's done that since little, tiny. So, she's been my shadow. But I know that if something is happening, I have to maintain that sort of leadership role. Yes, sometimes I wobble and I have to steer the ship back this way, but I have to manage certain situations accordingly and can't just crumble. Whereas back in the day, I loved a good crumble. I would be like, okay, it's over, I'm now gonna fall apart and I'm gonna make this really massive, there's going to be a crescendo in the lead up, it was big and it was the end. But now things happen, and it's just about how you deal with those things. And yes, I can be feeling some days hugely anxious or sad or whatever the feeling is, but it's okay to know that that's a valid feeling.
Yes.
Just because we've done inner work doesn't mean that, hang on, I've become a robot. I don't feel anything. I feel everything, probably louder now than before.
Yes.
But it's how to manage those feelings. And, part of my journey was, unfortunately, back in the day, I had a feeling, didn't want to feel that feeling, or didn't want to feel that situation or deal with that situation. So burying my head in the sand and changing that with a more toxic way of dealing with it was what I did. So that would be bad behaviors. That's where alcohol might come in, or other means to kind of change it, just to make I need a quick fix. And again, there's no such thing as a quick fix. It's work, unfortunately, in life. And so now, because my daughter is with me, as she always has been all the time, it's now feeling whatever that feeling may be. A recent situation, really horrific situation I went through. It was, I had an option of, saying, right, well, this is so horrific, I just feel like I'm just going to crumble now, and I want to spend days, weeks in bed, and actually that's what my mind was telling me. But actually it was just sitting there saying, no, this will be okay. You know what you have in place to deal with this, and you will guide and you will lead your daughter to a place of stability and comfort, and we will do that together. It's not that, if I fall apart, she will fall apart. So it's not just about you anymore, Lucy. It's about other people. You inspire, don't run away. So I've learned now that, when I have those moments, just like you in the hospital there, it's about dealing with it, calmly, and doing the right things. Sometimes it really is about just stopping and experiencing stillness. Like, nothing is going to happen. I'm just going to sit here and just have silence for a few moments, process what's going on, and then form a plan of action that allows self-care, allows positivity, allows, comfort, and all the good things. And that's a very different way to how I would have dealt with things like your hospital situation, etc., etc.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's, I think that's the key. It's those wobble moments. I mean, we say wobble moments, but obviously in the moment it feels a lot more than a wobble. It really does feel like your either your world is ending, or part of your world, or sort of like sometimes it's part of your identity, right? It's a part of your identity that you kind of almost don't identify with anymore, but it feels like home.
Yes.
Sort of like, I know this is not sort of what I want to do anymore, but what do I do? And like you said, there is that gap, like that knowing that my mentor Bob Proctor used to always say, says that knowing, doing, get. Like we all know what to do, right? It's like an exercise. We all know what to do, but it's the doing, and it's that gap, and it doesn't have to be a big gap. But sometimes you have to stop and sit, and like you said, guiding yourself through that, but with compassion, not sort of like, oh, you're a bad person if you do this and do that. But it's sort of like, well, you know, it's there are those options if you want to do that, but actually there are these other options, and it's not familiar, but we can make it familiar. Let's just start with this small little step, and then it will become bigger, and then we teach that, to my kids as well. I often say to my kids, when I'm like, like last year we did exams to get into their school they're in now, their prep school. So we did it's called the 6+ and the 7+. So so it sounded like a great idea at the time when they were rolling into the school, like, yes, let's do lots of exams. But it really actually was a great opportunity, shall we say, for growth mindset, because I had to be really careful, and my husband, to sort of be like, well, we want to aim high, and you all know the game of life. It doesn't really matter, like what school you go to, and what the grades are, right? And what the school you went to, which I loved. But they're at the time you're worrying so much, and they're looking back thinking, do you know what, Vidya, like you'll be fine, don't worry. If you mess up that exam, but it's not really. It's kind of like, okay. I remember several times saying, okay, it's not about the grade, but also it is. It's not about the grade, but it is also the effort for you. Like, don't do it for me. Don't do it for the school. But like, don't you want to know that you did your best, but your best having had sleep, and you feel good about yourself now, like you're whole now. But you can take that version of you who understands this topic to this school and have that experience there as well. It's not like it will be the same in any school. But to be honest, I had to, although it sounds like a very simple concept, in order to then explain it to a child who will obviously give you like a Viva on whatever questions, and then you think, why did we bring this up? But you have to really, it's good because it forces you to really understand, and you can't just say some throwaway phrase of like, oh, it'll all be fine. What do you mean by how do you know it'll be fine? But did you know? And just so like, oh, I don't know. And then leading into faith, not just from a religious point of view, but faith in you, but in your chosen strategy. Like there's 5% strategy, 95% mindset in the end, but you have to pick something. Be consistent and show up, and like, all right, we'll follow through with that. So I'd love to know with motherhood. Through the challenging times when we haven't quite got the answer yet, we're like trying to figure it out, and we're in the moment where it's like crisis, but have to make chicken curry and do homework, and it's still on your mind. So there is an energy slight drop. We know that it's not about toxic positivity, right? Like everything's fine and I'm a clown, but kind of like actually it's I've had a really tricky day. And I do tell them, they're not my therapist, but I do just say all feelings are valid. And, tonight when we journal, I'm going to journal on that and meditate on that.
Yes.
I mean, I'd love to know what are your thoughts on that? What do you do with Zuri during those challenging times?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I think right now, I mean, I'd say this, you've caught me at a prime moment, because we are experiencing, I think, probably one of the biggest things for a child to go through. She's experiencing grief, aged 7, and we're working our way through it. Unfortunately, her father died over the summer, and that was, a huge, earth-shattering, shaking experience for her and me. I wasn't with him, but it was an experience that really put all the kind of parenting and spirituality and everything really into test, basically. And so each day for myself and Zuri has it's been a sort of complex form of processing the grief on numerous levels, but my sort of goal is to help Zuri through that. And I think a lot of what we do and have done, and more it develops each day, is, like you say, keep those conversations open. Because I think if we look at sort of generations past, there was a sense, I think, potentially back in our day when we were younger, it was, stiff upper lip, let's just get on with it, you're fine, smile, and the world smiles with you, and everything's going to be. And I think that's kind of, that's just how it was. And then continue that's, everyone, the idea of being a bit raw and being like, I'm feeling really mentally unstable today, it might have been really frowned upon, like in our parents' day.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Absolutely.
That wasn't how we dealt with things. And crying, it was like, oh my God, that's worrying. But actually, this is so natural. And when I see Zuri cry, I'm there and say, listen, come to me, let's hug. Let's talk about it. And we talk about it. And it's interesting because even to this day, there's an element that I hear from her saying to me, oh, it means I'm weak if I cry. And I'm so curious. I'm like, where's that come from? And it's that, again, must be something that's been, I don't know, passed through stories or whatever it may be. But I think this is completely natural. And, guess what, Zuri? Today I cried, and that's okay. And I think it's about being really open and really honest. And I even say to her, some nights before bedtime, yes, I'm your mum, I'm your parent, your only parent right now, but I am not perfect. I was like, and we talk about, how I talk about my day, how I could have dealt with things differently. And I guess what I did today, I got something really wrong, and this is what happened, and we might have a laugh about it. And then she's like, oh dear. And then she shares about her day. And I think having that honest conversation, and almost sort of positioning myself, yes, I am the parent and I'm there to in some way, lead, maybe inspire, that sort of vibe. But I do not believe that I'm here to be like rule by the and say, this is how you're going to do this and this is what we do here. And I guess I treat Zuri more like a little friend, obviously a friend with boundaries, human, and I give her some sort of blueprint for how to do life, but also how I got it terribly wrong. But within that, part of the journey and part of our growth and development is, talking about situations and difficult things, because I think where perhaps I went wrong, and I think about, my very rebellious and, slightly unhinged years when I was younger, a lot of it was me actually not talking about this stuff, not talking about my fears or my concerns or issues or situations that occurred. I didn't ever express that to anyone, and I'm not blaming anyone for it. It's just how it was, and that space wasn't available to me at the time. So I really think there is a huge importance of talking, opening up. I love the fact that you journal with your kids, because I think that's lovely. I mean, we don't necessarily write things down, but we certainly talk and openly kind of express our day, etc., or what we've got coming up. So I think that is so important. I think that is also a huge blessing of modern day life, as terrifying as it is fast becoming. I think actually I do glean the key elements of social media or whatever, of hearing of stories of journaling, talking, and the importance of that, and the how healing that is for a child, just in life, and when they're going through something really intense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we obviously it doesn't always end up a journal session as I picture it, like what's enough calligraphy. One of those just like, no, I just want to read this little Mr. Men book, and I journaled, and it will just be like circles just to try and fill out the journal book to get like another journal. So it's not really how it works. But I think for me, just like with the study habits for the exam, it was more than the exam and the school. It was like, okay, do you know what? Even in our work, right? Like we have to take time to hone our craft. Like I need to learn. Yeah. Like I love to get this out there onto the world. Well, to do that, I had to learn how to start a podcast, and how to invite people, and set up the Wi-Fi and all of that, or how to create my programs, how to create daily sales in my membership, or how to create multi-six-figure business. And it's not just the money and the income, it's the impact, but we also have a family, and I would like to serve in this way, but with my faith, my family, my fitness first. So like it takes time to sit and learn and have the discipline. And And so that, I think, was the key focus for them of like, well, if we learn nothing else, let's focus on just got to learn to sit down sometimes for like
Yes.
20 to 30 minutes, which is not easy for a child.
Yeah.
Just sit
Yes.
there and just put the work in. And actually, it's harder when you don't quite get the result you thought you were going to get, or deserve.
Yes. Yes.
Kind of what success is like, right? And
Yes.
same with the journaling, it may not be this light bulb moment. It's just sort of like, a journal, you do my meditation. Yes.
Yes.
There's no eureka moments. But actually, it's like, for me, it's actually Stephen Covey. I don't know if you've read that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. It's a great book. And it's very much emotional account with yourself and also with your family. It's like an emotional bank account. So every time, so when we're putting in all these deposits now on like a boring day, which is nice. I mean, it's grateful to have a boring day compared to those hectic days, right?
Yes, I know those. Yeah.
There is, you're like, it's okay. I'm quite happy just having a relaxed day. But when there is a curveball, I mean, we're really making withdrawals, aren't we? We're kind of maybe not on top of it that much with our fitness, etc. But it's okay if it's like a day or two.
Yes.
Because we've got so much deposit that we're like, it's okay. And equally, you can still go ahead if you do it, if you want to. It's not like, but it doesn't have to be this hustle and grind. I don't care how I feel, I'm going to do it. Because that is another narrative around success, which I think is really unhealthy.
Yeah.
I think sometimes this road can feel, I'm going to say it's slower. I mean, I'm Aries, but yeah, it can feel a little bit like I just want to get there, but actually it has to be done in a sustainable way. And like, okay, only 20 minutes, and now that's enough.
Yes.
And now we need to go play football, and we need to have a bath, and we need to get to bed, and like
the
consistency of that, not just this in one day. So actually, that can, and that side of things as well. So that I think is key. And I'd love to know, how do you bring all of that, like the healing and the motherhood and all of that learning, like then into your business and your movement? And
I mean, I think that's a good question. I think it sort of started from me, and so getting myself balanced and in a place where I can give that out to clients, Zuri, etc. I think that's where it started. I think bringing and I think once I've had those sort of fundamental baselines kind of in place, they just naturally come into all avenues of life. It not just work, not just, it goes further than this into relationships, friendships, like each situation I have in life, I apply these kind of this blueprint, I guess, for living that I've kind of created, where just how I deal with certain situations, everything from like my sense of boundaries through to how, like I just said, like how I would deal with a certain situation, and those principles come into my business. And so a prime example being, today, for example, I had a call, and one of my longest standing clients said she'd basically sold her business. We're basically best friends. She was one of my first clients, so we're talking years and years ago. And through PR, her business has transformed. It was a huge success story. Anyway, she said the company that she sold it to are basically going to be, they're rejigging the team, and so she has no say in any of like the team, and they want to now bring in kind of AI and other people to manage the PR internally, which means I will be culled, not because of my work, but because that's the bigger umbrella want to explore new, methods. And not only was I like, oh my God, I'm scared for the future. That's my head went, I'm scared for the future. Oh my God. But, that was to me this morning, that was a huge sort of sense of loss. And my God, she was a huge account that I worked on for 20 plus years. And people are like, wow, that was your bread and butter that created your PR agency. And that's gone. But as you can see, I'm sitting here and I'm not like, I'm going to have to cancel the podcast. I'm going to have to, do you know what I mean? I'm not doing that, because I've implemented a strategy whereby, I sat there just before, coming online to you. And I said to myself, well, what's the worst that can happen? And like, it will be okay. There will be another client. It's like, these are life's revolving doors. It's nothing to do with you. You know, it sounds slightly mad, but I could almost have a conversation with myself and be like,
yes, I do all the time.
that little negative voice that's like, well, it's obviously down to you because you're crap and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, no, it's actually nothing to do with that. It's just unfortunate circumstances. It's one of those life curveballs. And this is your time where you can make this affect your whole day, your week, and then it can feed into your family life and feed into everything, and you can be really like sad about it. Or you can go, okay, cool, let's take some action. What are we going to do? Let's find a new client. Or do I even need a new client? Probably not. And it's changing that mindset. And so that's, you know, being okay in just churns out into the business out. And I think when you've got that, again, I'm sounding like I've got some sort of, I've really nailed it. I'm not. Some days I am like, woo, but I think if, you know, 80% of the time, if you've got some sense of stability, you will attract that into your life. And that goes wider than just business and other things, you know, relationships, partners, dating, whatever it may be. What you're giving out, the healing that you're giving out is what you're going to attract back. And I can wholeheartedly say, you know, at my broken moments, if we go back to when the wonderful mum said, would you like to come to the gym all those years ago? You know, at that point, I was attracting, you know, toxic, broken people. And I would absorb those people into my life, and that would be, and I couldn't see the difference. And it was a horrible time. And I think that was just because I had no sort of way of differentiating those that were working on themselves or self-reflecting or healing or whatever you want to call it. So, and that's the kind of energy I attract. Whereas now, in being to some extent or going through a process of healing, you that just kind of emanates into all areas and you attract back. So I have every faith that at some point I will have, as I do, I just have another lovely client of a similar kind of balance that will come into my ether. So
absolutely, of course, absolutely. And I think for me, it's all a perspective shift, isn't it? It's again the fear road, which we all have. This is how we all have the same mind. Obviously, we all work on it differently, but we have the fear road of like, oh, it's this, it's going, and it kind of spirals and this, and it affects each pillar of our life: health, wealth, and family. And then we have the faith road, which is, well, I'm just going to stay in faith and actually looking for the good. So yes, you know, I love that client, and I love working with them. I love that work together. But this is an evolution process. And so I'm evolving. And actually, it was time for me to let go of them too. And it just came in this way. It was presented in this way. And actually, the best way, because it's a huge success story and they've sold the business and this huge, long testimonial, right, of the incredible services that they never actually wanted to let go of. It's just changed. And actually, I mean, yes, I do use AI, but I don't think AI is for everyone and for everything, but it has a role to play. But I think that, you know, sometimes it's, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, now we need to all start using AI for PR, because I don't actually think that's necessarily the right way. No. Otherwise, everyone's like vanilla, right? Everything's the same. But I just think that it's interesting. It's very interesting because this is now my opportunity to show why, you know, why they need We Are Lucy, right? This is my opportunity to really show that, because clearly people need to know that. And equally for me, you know, my mentor Rob Proctor used to always say, you know, competition is for amateurs, right? But professionals collaborate. So when I'm saying, it's not like I'm better, but the reason they need, you know, We Are Lucy and now is for these reasons, you know, and actually just a huge wait list and kind of selecting. So on that note, I would like to thank you and also end with you also sharing about your incredible services, because I have lots of course, because we have lots of people who watch this podcast or live or wherever they're watching, who are leaders, who are either ministers or pastors, doctors, working in health or wellness, which I know that you're very passionate about, and beauty. and just really transforming lives with their own methodology, their own service, whatever that is. And for me, so I call it the Legacy Leaders Circle. That's my membership, where we do healing, earning with our business, and also leadership, right? Everything we talked about, but we do it on a daily basis. So please do, the floor is yours, to please share about your services, how people can reach you, because I know that there are hundreds listening who would love to work with you.
Amazing. Well, thank you. I mean, I guess the best way, I think, would be my website. So wearelucy.co.uk. You can see on our Instagram page examples of what we do. I mean, I am very much at the coalface of everything that we do. So I'm not sitting in a white ivory tower bossing people about. I am actually the person that will also be getting the coverage, pulling together the campaigns. I absolutely love it to see brands go is amazing. So that's kind of what we do. We're a little boutique outfit. I've never wanted to be a massive agency. I used to be much bigger, but actually decided that the smaller, really close kind of relationship we hold with our clients works really well. So we're able to, nail some pretty exciting PR campaigns. And like you say, I work with all sorts, from health, well-being, fitness, beauty, just entrepreneurs in general. I've looked after some very famous entrepreneurs that just want to raise their profile, and we will do all sorts, whether it be events, launches, get clients on TV. We've got clients' TV shows, magazine coverage, newspaper, online, you name it. We basically just love shouting about our clients and getting them, as much awareness as possible. And in turn, that then boosts whatever they're hoping to do, whether it be return of investment, bums on seats, just knowledge, whatever it may be, we get them out there.
Perfect.
That's my elevator. So I don't know if that made sense.
Absolutely.
There we are.
Yeah, I love that. We need that. And I think, that's, also something that people need, whereby I have lots of clients who have incredible certifications in healing, and they've done all the inner work and they want to share this with the world, like our conversation extended. But, then they're sort of learning like the sales and the marketing, and there's this like visibility piece there of like, why do you not want to get it? Why do you not? If you don't want to scream about yourself, what? So there is that
for you,
for you. Get Lucy to do it for you, and then you can come to Legacy Leader Circle for the healing, the marketing, but also and doing that as well. So brilliant. So I will be in touch with you, Lucy, because I have some ideas. I have some ideas, but on that note, also, if you do want to join Legacy Leaders Circle, there is a link in the comments. So this is very much about service, family, but also finances, right? Like our business and getting into multi-six figures and beyond, or whatever your goal is, but doing it as a calm, balanced, phoenix risen, as Lucy and I have been talking about, leader that you already are, but you just don't quite realize, and as Lucy said, you can't quite see it. So it's really important to have that clarity and courage. So do comment below any questions you might have. We have Lucy. I hope I've done that right, Lucy. wearelucy.co.uk. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
There. And then the link to join my membership below as well. It's only $37 per month. And we will catch you next week. We have our workshop, which is all on healing, earning, and leading. So it's called Transform. So come and join us there. It's completely free in my Facebook group, Wealthy Warrior Leaders. And I just want to say thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So I'm going to just end the show there.